This is Nasha Kasha, Ukrainian Almanac. 28 minutes of stories for everyone about Ukrainian life. Nasha Kasha is heard on 16 campus and community radio stations, from Newfoundland to British Columbia. I'm your reporter, Stefan Andrusiak. This is episode 189, and it was recorded in Kamloops.
Martin Fedora. How are you?
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Steve.
Nice
Stefan.
to meet you.
Stefan.
Stefan.
Stefan?
Stefan, yeah.
Stefan.
You're Stefan too?
I'm Stefan too.
Oh, dobre.
Yeah.
Dobre, yeah.
Hi, I'm Stefan.
All Saints Ukrainian Orthodox Church stands at 1044 8th Street.
My name is Martin Fedora, and I'm the president of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church here in Kamloops, BC. My great-grandparents come from Ukraine via Austria. The Ukraine was at that time under Austrian rule. They come in 1898 and landed in Halifax at Port 21. They moved to a small community called Chipman, just 45 miles east of Edmonton, where I was born in Chipman. My dad was born in Chipman. My mom was born in Carville, Alberta. I don't know whether you remember just east of Edmonton, the Eleniaks.
Elenyak, yes, one of the two first pioneers.
When they went back to Ukraine to pick up their families, our grandparents come with them on the same boat.
Oh my gosh. So do you have stories of those days, having grown up in that family?
Well, no, not really. My grandfather passed away when my dad was only a year old from the flu, and so my grandmother remarried, and I was basically raised for 5 years under my step-grandfather, which passed away when I was only 6 years old. So really, I was only my grandmother.
And your parents were with you as well, right?
Yeah, my parents were with us all the time. I never knew a word of English when I started school. I went to school in Chipman and graduated out of Lamont High School. And when I graduated, I had decided to go look for a job. I went to Edmonton, and I seen a sign on Canadian National Railways that they were looking for employees. I went down there and got a job, and that's where I stayed with the CN till I retired here in 1991.
So you started off doing what, and you ended up doing what?
I worked for the CN as a trainman and retired as a conductor on the Canadian National Railways.
Conductor on a freight train or on a passenger train?
Freight train. Yeah, I worked passenger train also, but I retired as on freight.
Now, what does a conductor do on a freight train? You keep track of the cars, manage the safety. What does a conductor do? There are no tickets to punch.
No, there's no tickets to punch, but you had a manifest of all the cars that you had on that was the conductor's report, and he had to turn it in and make sure that everything was lined up properly.
My name is Liz Line, and I'm the secretary of the parish. My family came from Horodanka in 1925 and 1928, and we settled in northern Saskatchewan. And that's where I grew up. And then I moved to Winnipeg probably in 1945. After I got married, I traveled across Canada with my husband, who was in the Air Force. We were in Chicoutimi, Quebec, and then we went to Tinsdale Air Force Base in Florida. Then we went back to Sudbury, Ontario. Then we landed up at Mount Lola, which is here in Kamloops. That's how we arrived here. My husband's a flight lieutenant, and he was a navigator.
You have children?
Yes, I do. I have 5 children. Yes. I was a telephone operator in Winnipeg, in Port Garry, when I met him as a cadet. It was like knitting, putting all of these cords into all of the sockets. Nowadays, it's so electronic.
Is it true what people think about operators in those days, that you listened in on the call?
Oh, yes. I remember growing up on a farm. It was like 15 households that were on one party line, and you could hear the phone being picked up. You can hear the phone being put down. And I know that one event where I had gone out with my girlfriend, and we were the only 2 Ukrainians in in the town. And so, of course, in the morning when we started asking each other whether we had a good time, you can hear all these phones being picked up. So we'd start talking in Ukrainian, and then you can hear click, 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 click. We were not interesting after that.
Well, just one of the many advantages to speaking Ukrainian.
That's right. Speaking another language always helps. And my husband's name was Lishchishin, and there were no vowels in except Y's. And all throughout his career in the Air Force, he was called electrician, a musician, everything but Lishchishin. And you could see everybody that was with a name like Simard or Tremblay got a promotion. He never got a promotion until he came to Kamloops, and they finally gave him, from flying officer, he got a flight lieutenant. When he got out, eventually, due to illness, he changed his name to Lyne, which is as short as you can make it. It was hard. It was hard for people to say it.
And you've been lying ever since.
I've been lying. Even then, I get Lyon instead of Lyne. My maiden name was Shelestynsky. It's so easy because it's Sheles and then Tynski.
So how many letters?
It's 11, I believe, and Lishchishin was 13.
So you never thought of calling yourself Shelestynsky or Lishchishin?
No, there wouldn't be enough space on a page.
You're listening to the Orange Blossom Special, performed by Patty Kosteruk, her son Alex, and friend Jeremy Rusu on guitars. Patty was inducted into the North American Fiddlers Hall of Fame in 2016. Her ancestry is Métis and Ukrainian.
My name is Steve Wurstiuk, Stefan. My grandfather and grandmother came from the Ukraine in 1900. My dad was 1 year old, but they did not come at the same time. The grandfather came a year before grandmother, maybe because he didn't want to travel with the baby. Then, when I was growing up, I was like Martin here. I didn't know English until I started school. I was the second oldest, and the younger ones later on, there were 7 kids, and the younger ones later on knew English, learned from us. We weren't supposed to talk Ukrainian in school, and not even on the playground, but going home on the road we could. We had 2.5 miles to walk to school.
What happened if you spoke Ukrainian in school?
Guess what? We'd get straps.
Did you ever get strapped?
No. Our school was only till grade 8, and at that time, everybody in there finished grade 8, and guess what? Went on helping Dad on the farm.
What kind of crops did your father grow?
Well, wheat, barley, and oats at that time. Maybe 20 head of cattle, had horses, and he was renting some land because there was my brother, a year older than me. He quit school a year earlier, so he was making provisions for us to have work on the farm till I was 22, and then I bought land in Lloydminster, Alberta, which was 110 miles away from there, and I was farming in Lloydminster for 6 years. Then I sold my land to my brother-in-law and went to Vancouver.
This is Evan Wish and his composition, When Will Miracles Happen?
I'm Bella Bulgara, and I'm the treasurer for the church.
My name is Malvina Fedor, and I'm just a member of the church.
My mother was born in Canada, so was my dad. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we lived on a farm. I went to school in Saskatchewan. I think it was grade 7 when we moved to Kamloops here, and then I went to high school here.
And what was the decision to go from there all the way to Kamloops?
My dad didn't own any land. He was renting, and he had misfortunes. And my uncle moved here to Kamloops. So when he talked him into coming here, so he packed us up and came here and got a job on the CN.
Is it too personal to ask what kind of misfortunes the farm experienced?
he had a real beautiful crop of grain and whatever, and he had a little tractor, a little Ford Ferguson, and he was too small to be able to take everything off. So he went into and got himself a bigger tractor and equipment suitable for bringing in the crop. But by the time he got home, it hailed out. He had nothing to bring in, but the people that he was renting from insisted that he still do a harvest. So he did enough that he could give the portion to them, but he didn't have anything left. He worked in the winter cutting cordwood, made enough, and then he sold his horses, his favorite team of horses. He sold them to buy grain to seed, and he seeded the farm, and he left for Kamloops.
It sounds like they were some very tough landlords.
No, they weren't tough. They just wanted their portion. Yeah.
I'm Malvina Fedor. My parents were both born in Canada, and my grandparents, I don't know. I was the oldest of a family of 12. We were raised in a farm. I went to school in Mundare, Alberta.
And what did you study as a young woman?
I didn't really study, I met my husband and got married, and we moved to Prince George.
How did you meet? How did you meet Martin?
Wasn't it the 4-H?
Was he a conductor yet?
Oh no, he wasn't a conductor. He was still going to school.
What did you like about him?
Oh, I don't know. That's a very. I don't know. We just.
Well, hang on. Just a second. How many years have you been married?
57.
No, 58.
Sorry, how many?
58.
She corrected you. Okay, 58 years. There has to be at least one thing you like about him.
He was nice to me. We got along great. It was.
You know what? Getting along, that's a good thing. That's the glue, isn't it?
Yes.
Tell me about Kamloops. What is the city like? And then tell me the place of the Ukrainian community in that city. Who wants to begin?
We came here in 62, I believe, 1962. We were transferred to Mount Lolo. We came from Sudbury, and it was just so cold, so much snow. We traveled across Canada. We just literally froze in our old car. And when we got here, it was March 4th, and we were staying in a local motel. And the flowers were blooming, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm in heaven.
At first, when we did move here, it was very hot. I said, I'm going back to Prince George. Now I wouldn't go back. It's lovely, friendly people. And
do you remember those days, Bella, when your parents were organizing the Orthodox parish here?
Oh, yes, I do. Yeah. My dad and when we moved to Kamloops, we were renting a house from family. The fellow they were Ukrainian, so my dad and him, because they had a vehicle, they went to Vernon and they picked up the priest and they brought him here. The Anglican church let them use the church, and they've had a service and they had Easter blessing of food. And
is it hard to maintain your religion and your culture in this society here?
Martin, up till the 70s, was probably still more or less a Ukrainian. And then in the 70s, the old-timers wanted everything left in Ukrainian. But the younger ones said, well, we don't understand, because most of the younger kids, like my children, never knew a word of Ukrainian. Even though both Malvina and myself are Ukrainian, I can understand Ukrainian, but I can't speak very much Ukrainian.
Liz here, we had a hall. We first built a hall before we had the church, a modern hall for the time. And what they did is they used a stage to have our church services on, and then just put all our church equipment into a closet and close the doors. And then we rented the hall for the rest of the week. So we were able to maintain it and pay for it because it paid for itself.
My sons and even Liz's children, they grew up. They got their education. They had to leave Kamloops at that time because Kamloops didn't have a university, and then they got jobs elsewhere.
Older people are leaving us, the same as we will one day, and the younger people are just not coming to church.
Now our services are mostly English.
Right now, we're probably running around 30 members. Yeah, I don't know whether it would be probably about 20 families. Martin here, What I think is happening, and it's happening all over, I don't think it's only happening here in Kamloops, I think it's happening all over. The children of today have too many things to do. Church is of the least importance to them.
But you think it's important enough for you to lead this society. And so what is it that they don't understand that you understand?
Well, the thing is that we never brought our children up the way that they should have been brought up to be churchgoers.
You know what? Don't beat yourself up. I think no matter how hard parents try sometimes, they can't live their children's lives for them.
It's Liz here. I really have no regrets for anything that has happened. We worked hard. You know, when you built a hall, we built a huge hall. We had like 14 members. We paid it off in no time at all. We paid this church off in, 5 years?
Something like that. We had so many outside people that were helping us that were not Ukrainian. And then we had a lot of people that helped us that were from the Ukrainian Catholic Church, too.
I worked hard, and we all worked hard over here at the hall, and we all got along, and we just had to do the work, so we did.
My final thought is, when we talk about Ukrainian, Father Chad's wife is not Ukrainian, and she's involved in it. And his mother is not Ukrainian. It didn't hinder them at all to be in the Ukrainian community. They still worked with it.
Your sign out front says services are every second week. Is that what has to happen now?
We belong to the Okanagan Council, and that means Kamloops, Kelowna, and Vernon. So our priest has 2 services in Kelowna, 2 services in Kamloops, 1 in Vernon only. So that's the way it's set up. And then we have services during the week sometime.
Together to make better hair and cabbage rolls to sell.
Yeah. And you're doing well with that?
Oh, yeah. We sell them during Christmas. We take orders, and Easter time we have a sale.
I would never go anywhere else. I would never want anything else in life. I think this is the best place to be, and I'm proud to be a member of this church.
Congratulations, and thank you for your volunteer work every day.
This is The Falcon is Flying by bandura virtuoso and soprano Larissa Kovalchuk from her album My Beautiful Songs. It must be a demanding challenge to serve All Saints and 2 other Orthodox communities in the Okanagan. Fittingly, I remarked to myself, the man who greets us at the front door of his hillside home is wearing a Superman shirt.
Let's go outside.
Surrounded by children and dogs, he never stops smiling.
Hi, my name is Anastasia. I'm in grade 4. My name is Demetrius. I'm in grade 1. Hello, my name is Sip Uyen. I'm in kindergarten.
Your dad is wearing a Superman shirt. Can you tell me a little bit? Is he a Superman?
Yeah. No, he isn't. I'm Superman.
But he has the shirt.
Yeah.
Okay. We can wear shirts, right?
Yeah. I'm Superman.
Oh, you have a cape. See, Father, what you need is the cape to go with it. Then they'll believe you.
I just have to borrow his. Hi, my name is Father Chad Paulishin, parish priest of the Okanagan parochial district for the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of Canada. My family's roots are Ukrainian and German. With my wife, Dobrodika Carmen, we are a real mix of Ukrainian, German, and Dutch now. We have a broad Eastern European heritage.
Did the German part of it connect with Ukraine or live in Ukraine by any chance?
From the little research I've done, actually, the German part is the German Mennonite and potentially is linked with some of the Mennonites that were brought by Catherine the Great into Ukraine to farm in that. So the last name is Dyck, D-Y-C-K, and from what research I found, it is the more Ukrainian side of the German. The Paulician is from the Hutzule region. I can't remember the area, the city or town exactly. My Baba's family actually is from kind of the Bukovina region, and my grandfather's is of course the Hutzule.
Could you give me a sense of your childhood growing up and how you chose a religious calling?
We always went to the church. I grew up in Calgary and always went to St. Vlad's. As I grew and began to serve as an acolyte in the church, I was pushed gently by the members, constantly getting newspaper articles where my picture was saying, "Our future priest."
What does an acolyte do? What does that mean?
Acolyte is an altar boy. Upon graduating, I made the decision after grade 12 that this was the calling because I could do all the things I enjoyed: singing, teaching, and working with children. Yeah, once I finished seminary at St. Andrew's College in Winnipeg, then I began to go through the process preparing for ordination. So, of course, one of those first steps was to find a dobrodika. In the case of wanting to be a married clergy, I was married in 2009 to my wife, Dobrodika Carmen, and then I was ordained as a deacon in 2011 in April during Great Lent. It was January 13th of 2013 that I was ordained as a priest. My first assignment after ordination and like a 6-month practicum in Calgary, I was first assigned to Vancouver Island, serving Parksville and Victoria. So I served there for 4 years, from August of 2013 to August of 2017, when I was reassigned to the Okanagan parochial district here in living in Kamloops and serving Kamloops, Kelowna, and Vernon.
Is that a tough gig?
It is challenging because you've got a larger area. It's no different than distance-wise for me traveling than the island was, but with 3 parishes. Making the demographics of each are slightly different. The needs of each are slightly different. And then, of course, working the family life, it really puts a challenge. But it's a challenge that I was, of course, willing to accept and to work through. And it's ultimately becoming very fruitful. The ministry in the Okanagan, growing the parishes, there is some small growth starting to take in these first 2 years out here. And one of the really joys, you could say, to my ministry out here is being a chaplain at Thompson Rivers University. And as well, I'm not a chaplain at Okanagan, UBC Okanagan campus, but I've got 3 students that have been attending the parish in Kelowna from UBCO. So it's really, really exciting to see those youth that aren't Orthodox, aren't Ukrainian, coming to the church.
The Lenten hymn Sorrowful Mother, Vidubici Choir, Roman Hurko conducting.
In Kelowna right now, we've got a mix. We do have some of those university students, but we also have a couple of families of the newer immigrations of Ukrainian and Russian background. As well, we've been drawing on some of the fallen away parishioners who have, for whatever reasons, left the church, are starting to come back. Here in Kamloops, it's predominantly new people moving into the area, whether it be Orthodox background already, or somebody who is searching because they saw the church, the big green domes, and they started to inquire.
The language that you give your services in and pray in is English?
Yeah, predominantly. I try to do a 50-50 split with what I'm reading during the service. But in Kamloops specifically, it does lean a little bit more to English due to the fact that we have more people who aren't of Ukrainian background, so that they can understand.
The people I talked with this afternoon identified, I guess it was in the 70s, a reluctance on the part of church elders to allow the English language, and many of their kids fell away.
Absolutely. That has been one of the big struggles in the Okanagan over many decades, you could say now, that it was predominantly Ukrainian and it was only Ukrainian and that's it. Even though they might have been conducting business in English, they wanted the services in Ukrainian, and many fell away. And there was many clergy who tried to start getting more English in back in the 70s and early 80s, but they faced that reluctance. And, that's sadly one of, I wouldn't say the only thing, but one of the big things that caused the decrease in membership in the Okanagan. Often people look at the Okanagan for retirement. And that's one thing that I encourage many to do, is to think about it for retirement, but think about it as a place where you can continue your faith.
Свою хвилю, гриби свою милю, не думай про гроші, не слухай про гриб. 5000 спилось, 200 втопилося, ти ще живий, тільки голос захрип. Не все так погано, є марихуана, брикети, пуер, хоч тютюн на здогін. А ти ніби гриб, посміхаєшся зверху, бо маєш свій власний силу в собі. Гриби свою пісню, живи легковісно, важке ні до рук, ані до голови. Похиряй проблеми, будь завжди у темі, і в темпі хорошому просто живи. Живи. Полюбити так мило, лети і кохай, бо кохати святе. Тримай свою хвилю, греби свою милю, життя все розставить на свої місця. Свічай, як смола і міцні сигарети, будь також міцніший, бодай засвідник. Свій час не вгадаєш та не потопаєш, допоки ще кисень із мозку не зник. Пливи, загрібай, не грібай, заграбасти, не тримаєш воду, тримаєшся сам. Ні її, ні собі не дозволиш пропасти, на щастя вам Бог і на зло небесам. Греби свою пісню, живи легковісно, важке ні до рук, ані до голови. Похиряй проблеми, будь завжди у темі, і в темпі хорошому просто живи. Живи, люби, полюбити так мило, лети і кохай, бо кохати святе. Тримай свою хвилю, греби свою милю, життя все розставить на свої місця.
I'd like to gratefully acknowledge that partial funding for Nasha Kasha comes from the Shevchenko Foundation. I'm your reporter Stefan Andrusiak, back in a week, God willing. До милої зустрічі за тиждень часу, дорогі слухачі.